What's up, everybody? You're listening to Where's My 40 Acres, the Boob Tube podcast, and this week we're reviewing the blackest show on television right now, FX's own Atlanta. Shout out to Donald Glover, man.
I mean, how would you know you were alive unless you knew you would die?
My boy hooked you up. He made you the lemon pepper joints, but these got the sauce on them.
Life itself is but a series of close calls.
Hey, everybody. You are listening to the Where's My 40 Acres podcast, and this is the Atlanta recap. So you heard the whole intro. Shout out to Donald Glover, man. That whole way that shit plays. We're back to talk about, God, one of the most depressing episodes of a show that I have watched on television probably this year. I don't think I've had such a visceral reaction to a show episode than I had with Helen, season 2, episode 4 of Atlanta. And I think this had a lot of people fucked up because I was watching the timeline and like I saw Bomani Jones interjecting. I seen Rod interjecting. I'm like, everybody, we was all on kind of the same depressed page of what we just witnessed, which was the breakup of a couple that not even sure we were all that rooting for. It was kind of just a relationship that existed within the show.
I mean, were they really a couple?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think any of us were like, they were prince and princess meant to be together. Time spared. The fable of all Disney tales is this right here. No, I don't think any of us felt that way.
No, like even claimed as boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, I think it was depressing, but it was just kind of like one of those things where I always saw it as, you know, when you're in a relationship, especially because they will always have a connection because they have a child, but kind of like, I guess, just be in comfort.
Right.
Like those type of relationships where like, I know you, you know me. He's not really claiming me. He claims me in certain instances, but not all the time, you know, but he's there because I know him.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that this one was interesting because it's a lack of communication yet again, coming from everybody on the show, which I think is the theme, is that nobody likes to talk to each other. That's what always blows me, is like, clearly this would have been done or like resolved if anybody had a conversation with each other, but no.
How old are you, Joy?
I am 26 going on 27.
26. Okay. That's not young, but it's definitely not old. You haven't hit your fuck it stage yet, even though I feel like you're an old soul and you might hit it, you might peak early.
No, you know what? Like, I'm weird. I personally, full candor, I have never been in a relationship because this is all stressful and I trust no one. So, like, so for me, watching this stuff, I usually watch it in a very clinical way where I'm just like, can somebody talk to each other though? Like most of these shows, and this is no exception, majority of the time I was just sitting there, I was like, okay, like I never thought that they were in a relationship. Even the episode before with, what was it, Moneybag Shawty?
Yeah.
When they were hanging out and he was like, I'm gonna take out my girl. She was calling him like Puff Zaddy. I was like, oh wait, are they in a relationship now? Because that's not where they were. Like yeah, I was like, that's not what they were last season. Like last season, he ain't had no home. He still don't got no home, but like, so I'm confused. I guess.
I think I asked you that because I completely understand the critical eye outside looking at this going, why didn't they just communicate? As a person who is now married, but has been in a relationship for 9 years before that, I'm looking at this and I'm going, these niggas don't need to be together. And it's
also true.
Very evident that they don't want the same thing and have never wanted the same thing. And the point in the conversation where Vann says something to the tune of, I'm tired. I'm tired of repeating myself. I'm tired of having the same argument. If I could tell y'all how many times I've had that conversation with Ash, or she's had that conversation with me, that is a legit thing. It's not that y'all don't talk. It's that don't matter that y'all talk. Y'all do not agree on this shit. You don't approach it the same way, and you don't have the same feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going on here.
Agree.
And as somebody I've been in a relationship like this. Not, I don't have the child naturally, but just to be, and I guess that's why I said it's just, might not get along in certain instances, but it's like the comfort of, regardless, I still know him, even though I know the stuff that I don't like about him. That even though he might not communicate, or he might claim me, quote unquote, call me his girl in certain instances, especially if it's an incident where somebody else might be interested, or whatever the case may be, it's still the fact of, I know him. And, some people are scared to, put themselves out there to even either one, be by themselves, or two, just, start, I guess, that process over again with somebody else you don't know. And, comfort, especially when you add feelings and sex and all that other stuff with it, it's a dangerous thing, because you can be very, very tired. You can be, very complacent. And, it'll be years down the road. And, when it finds the ding of the I'm tired comes out, then it's like, look, all that time I wasted.
Yeah, and that's what it is here. It's the comfort thing, I think, is the biggest problem here that people fall a trap to, that we never really talk about like that. That comfort shit, man, versus you having to figure some whole ass another soul out from beginning, deal with all of their little shit, stuff you like, stuff you don't like, going through the whole nuance of having to move in or living together, the dating bullshit, the Tinders and whatnot, that whole trial and error love. Nobody wants to have to do that. So even if it's a nigga that don't claim you or that you don't claim, because Vann wasn't claiming his ass last season either, she definitely won't let him stay there. You're like, she didn't want him staying there all the time.
She was going on dates.
She definitely was going on dates.
So, that whole dynamic, man, people will just fall victim to that comfort shit. And I think that they fell in again after she lost her job for that weed incident, and she fell back on him for income, because that's pointed out a couple of times that she really ain't doing shit right now.
Ooh, right. Yeah, that was that was the wording of that was really rough during that whole. Yeah. Ooh,
well, you put that in context with the fact that Earn's chip has turned into a boulder, and he is yet to let it go. So his communication skills right now are shit. He's in a depressed place. He's in one of those places that niggas and people in general, but mostly niggas, get into, where they're like, fuck it, I don't need you, I don't need this, I don't need anything. Why life don't want to shine on me? Why I gotta be in the shadows and in the dark? And he is going to lose everything before he realizes everything he lost. Which is
ironic from the first episode.
Yes, that's his theme this season. Like, like I said, hashtag Earn gonna learn. That is his theme this season.
That hashtag,
you need a hashtag that.
Yes, no, like that's a perfect description, because I feel like Robin's season is like double meaning. Like, obviously, niggas are getting robbed, but I think Earn has been robbed of his common sense. He don't got it.
I can agree with this.
He doesn't have it.
I can't agree with this. So let's get the show info out of the way. Not for our show, for this episode of Atlanta. Who did what and why, when, where, and how. So here we go. This is episode 14 of the total series, episode 4 of season 2. It's titled Helen, as in Helen, Georgia. That's a place, I guess.
No, it actually is. It's up north, 85. Helen, Georgia is exactly what you see in the. And I keep saying I want to take a trip up there, because I first heard about it initially from my ex-boss, White, clearly. But,
yep.
she said it's like it's not a far drive from Atlanta. I think maybe an hour, if that. But it looks just like the episode. It literally looks like a little German town, and especially during Oktoberfest, it's a big thing. You can still go up there now because they have some wineries up there apparently too.
I figured that white people love wineries.
Yeah. But it literally, it's an actual place, and it actually looks exactly like what it looks like on the episode.
It looks like Get Out.
Yeah,
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, and the drive is like that too, because you drive in, through forest and shit. So, yep, you got it right.
So I dropped that for segue purposes because I want to talk about the director of this episode, who was not Hiro. As usual, it was actually a woman, Amy Seimetz. I'm probably saying her name all types of wrong. And the writer of this episode was not Stephen Glover. It was Taufik Kalade or Khalade. Again, I'm probably killing these names right now. IndieWire did an interview with Amy, and she comes from a show on Stars, I believe, called The Girlfriend Experience.
Yep. I don't watch the show, but I've heard really good things about it.
As have
Isn't that
I.
about the escorts?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
It's on
I've
my
never
list.
seen it, but...
It and Contact is on my list as Star shows that I need to watch, while the rest of you niggas is watching Power. So in this interview, I thought it was very interesting, like the way she talked about the fact that how they came up with the show and the concept, and it is based around Get Out. That's not by accident. That is completely by design, even down to the way they shot the episode is different. So I wanted to read some of her quotes from this article. And again, it is on IndieWire, and the article is titled Atlanta director Amy Seimetz on creating those Get Out vibes in the creepy episode Helen. So here we go. She said, when we shot it, Christian Springer, the director of photography, and I decided that it would be really fun to shoot this episode in 100 millimeter. Most of the episode is on 100 millimeter or 200 millimeter lenses, so it makes it feel like they're being spied on the whole time. Very creepy, like somebody's watching them the whole time. And we get the vibe of an alienation, like, oh wow, there are these two people here, people just staring at them the whole time. So Earn can never quite feel it in his skin. Let's see. They were talking about the festival, which was the Fasnacht, or however you pronounce that. I don't speak German, so, y'all just gonna have to hate on my mispronunciations of a lot of stuff this episode. Fasnacht is a festival in Germany, but it doesn't actually happen in Helen, Georgia. That's just something they made up. Half of that stuff in there, I have no idea. Donald was just saying, I think it's just stuff I read off the internet and they put it in. This feels very much like the show anyway, taking these weird pieces of reality and making them part of the world. Let's see. Vann grew up attending Fasnacht and wants to share the experience. You get that from the episode. They talk about the here's where we fuck it up. The Schnapp feature, which is the big creature with the goat head on, or whatever the fuck that was. The mascot character. It's a nightmarish and very haunting, alienating in a way. There's no reason Earn would be there other than just to be there with Vann. It's a reality alienating episode for both of them. All those masks are handmade. We looked up different masks from the festivals, and this guy that's in Atlanta made all these creature masks. So we basically designed all these masks so that they felt nightmarish but still realistic. The guy that was walking around in the puppet head, without me saying anything, he started making this really ridiculous laughter. I was like, this is so creepy. Keep doing that. It just became a mix of funny and really disturbing. The second time I watched the episode, I paid more attention to the laughter, and she's absolutely right. That shit is just fucking creepy.
Yeah, it is.
They wanted us to feel... What'd you say, Deidre?
Oh, no, nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, they wanted us to feel Earn's alienation, this part of Vann that he doesn't really know, that he's not sure if he wants to know. It's a part of Vann he can't assess. I don't think most Americans speak German, so I wanted us to be in the dark too. You get a few words here and there to ground you. He's so funny in that scene. When we go to look for her cell phone and the Schnappviecher or whatever this thing is called, I really wanted to steal from European movies from the 60s. So when we were shooting it, we shot it in this very surreal, dreamy European style. Even the subtitles, we were like, let's have them be like European subtitles, really weird looking font, which was Christian's idea. So when we were back in the surreal moment looking for the Schnapp feature, I'm just going to say this shit however I feel. It's back into Vann's point of view. So having the subtitles was important so that we understand what she's going through. The most challenging scene is having couples fight on screen and having to be realistic, having it feel authentic, and then also making it hurt. It's easy to have people argue, but to have it really stick and hurt. They were making fun of me because I don't do a lot of takes for scenes, but when they were doing their fight, I had them do it over and over and over again to the point where Donald was like, are you reliving your breakup in Helen, Georgia right now? Is this some sort of sick masochistic exercise that you're doing that's making us do your fight? And I was like, I don't know, maybe, I can't tell, I'm not sure. But it was just getting to that to land so you feel really upset. Like when you get into a fight and you say something that's really mean and you shouldn't have said it to the other person, just get into that moment so you don't feel too angry at Earn and you kind of understand why he was feeling the way he was feeling, but also that it really did stick with Vann and feel really awful so that she would question the relationship. That scene was challenging, but I think it ended up being really effective. My favorite scene, and it makes me cry every time I watch it, is just the ending. When you know they're not going to be together and they start playing ping pong and that song kicks in. They're broken up, but they still have to deal with being parents to a child, so they know they're going to see each other. But they don't know if they're going to be together. It was just sad. It was just sad for me. Okay. And there's a whole nother couple of paragraphs in here about how she even got involved with the project, how she Skyped with Donald Glover and Hiro and like told them how she thought she may fit in, how she might not fit in, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all should go read it. It's a pretty dope article. IndieWire's doing that damn thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So let's work backwards. Because we usually start from the beginning of the episode. But let's work backwards here.
So the character, so she is German American.
Sassy Beats, yes, is German American.
She is.
Yep.
Yeah. She was born in Germany, from what I've read.
And grew up in New York, I think. Was raised in New York.
Oh, okay.
And she speaks she is versed in German, like fluid German. Both English.
Yeah, she was actually born in Berlin. I'm like looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Berlin. Okay.
So they did break up. That whole ping pong match at the end was for show. Vann was the one who made the decision that they were broken up at that point. That's why she even let the ping pong game happen. It was like giving this nigga an opportunity to maybe redeem himself for some comments that he made earlier in the show. And for his just lack of interest in maybe changing his comfort level, something more relative to the way that she felt about this relationship, in which he just did not seem like he wanted to hop aboard and do that shit and ride with her. So there are two ping pong games in this episode. There's the first ping pong game where they play for the dance. That's a very goofy game of ping pong. She's kind of lighthearted, just playing with him, fucking around. She's clearly the superior ping pongist here, despite all this arena references. And that game is 2 out of 3. The final game, the whole dynamic has changed. The ambiance is dark. She is pissed. She's upset. She's tired of his shit. She's made the decision. But maybe this nigga might have an opportunity to win me over one last time. There's like a 2% chance he could beat me. So here we go. The rules.
Even though he just said,
it's not working for me.
Yeah. The rules of this game are 3 out of 5. So she gave him more of an opportunity to fix that shit. But off the bat, she's 2-0 up before we even leave to the cut to commercial. And that last one was an ace. And that was a strong message she sent. I don't want you to win. This ain't even your decision. I've decided for us. But I'm gonna let you feel like you got us saying this shit. You already out the door though. And the end of the episode is them sleeping facing the opposite directions. I guess they were staying at some little spot. When they went up to Helen, they drove back. He gets his shit. He got all his bags. He is out. He is homeless again. He is homeless. He is 4K-less, and he's missing all of that money from the last check.
Saying, like, bro,
when he went to the strip club.
Listen, this is what made me so mad, because like as the viewer, we know all of the background dumb shit that Earn has been doing with his money, So the fact that he had the audacity to throw that, I don't want to go to like Alfred's like stupid concert. He was like, be careful because that's how you're paying your bills right now. I was like, sir, but you still don't have a home. Like, I want us to, we're on equal playing field. You have enough money to pay for your child and give me some money on the side, but not enough to buy a home. So
equal playing field. They were good. He could have paid Vann's rent for 6 months with that money.
This is what I'm saying. And so like, we're watching it. I'm watching it as a viewer. So like, I'm like, I know what you do with that money. I know she doesn't know what you did with that money. So I'm sitting there like, sir.
Yeah. When he said that little, I said, Tom. Oh, okay. We feeling ourselves now, aren't we? Okay. But I mean, he's just, he like he does with everything else. He don't put up a fight. Like he said those little comments, but at the end of the day, he got his ass beat in ping pong and he lost, like he said, he lost his house. His only other place that he could stay. He lost that, like I said, that relationship of comfort. Because, all these other things I'm sure in his life is uneasy and unstable. So that was probably his one consistent. That's why he said the arrangement works for him. Because it's his only consistent that she'll be there forever. Now that he lost that, I was like,
That's the thing. I wish I could have been Vann's like anger translator at that moment. Like, just to remind him, like, sir, the last 2 episodes, you lost all of your money for stupidity. You wanted to stunt, you got stunted on episode 3. You lost your money because you believed in fucking Tracy, who came right out of prison with the do-rag.
Really?
Believe these waves, nigga. These waves is real.
Right. Like you so pressed on trying to be something that you're not, but you ended up being a nobody. Your cousin don't trust you. He don't want you to be a manager. Like, what are you doing with your life?
His self-loathing is the most pitiful thing about this fucking show. Like, I thought I would say that number 2 worst thing this season is going to be Alfred's haircut next episode, because I don't know what the fuck is going on with that fro that he got going on sitting in that barber chair. But other than that, man, Earn's self-loathing this whole season, it really is the overbearing theme that we all did not expect. It has been 4 episodes strong of this nigga being pathetic.
Yeah.
And I'm like over it at this point. I'm like, bruh, you digging yourself in so many. You're not even digging yourself deeper in one hole. You've dug yourself deep in a hole, climbed out, dug another hole, deep in that shit, climbed out, and continue in the fucking process. Like, you trying to build your own whack-a-mole arcade game. Like, bruh, whack-a-nigga arcade is not some shit we trying to play while watching this show. You need to get your shit together.
It also makes me think, too, like, it never was addressed, and I don't know if it will ever be, like, what happened with him in Princeton? Like,
I bet you it was this.
Remember, he was going to fucking Princeton.
I bet you it was this. He was around all them smart ass white people as well. He was the only black dude there. He don't have no fucking confidence. He's self-loathing as shit. He started to feel pitiful, and he just checked the fuck out. He probably spazzed. He probably spazzed and did some crazy shit that made him look crazy, and they ended up kicking him out. He had to leave.
He reminds me of a lot of, because I didn't go to Princeton, but I did go to an Ivy League. He reminds me of a lot of different classmates that I had where they don't feel self-worth unless they're the one who's the most knowledgeable in the room. And so when they're not the most knowledgeable in the room, to your point, they have that self-loathing. And sometimes the result of that is they just quit while they're behind. And I think that's Earn in a nutshell. He didn't feel smart enough with the white kids in Princeton, but he's feeling, off kilter in Atlanta with the rest of the niggas, because he's not good enough for that too. So like, he just feels like he doesn't belong anywhere. And as a result, he does some really stupid stuff and says some really shitty things to people.
And the one thing that he did have going for him, which was Vann, because again, this is somebody he knew, and some people, they will treat people like that, like shit, or like they're, just the, bystander, because they know that they'll always be there. And, knew Vann always was going to be there. Vann was the one that bailed his ass out last season, all this stuff. And, now this is gone.
And just to get some quotes from this part of the conversation, when she shows up and sees him sitting on the stairs near the ping pong table, she's like, he asked her, want a rematch? And she's like, no, what do you want? And he says, I want a rematch. And it's like, bruh, you don't get it. And I don't know if he's saying he wants a rematch to better him. Like he wants a rematch because he feels like she stunted on him and he can stunt back. Or if it's like some type of metaphor for their relationship. I want us to start over again, because she initially goes to talk to him because after she finds her phone after it got stolen, and we'll talk about that later when we continue to go back in reverse. She looks at it, it's a text on it that says we need to talk, and it's from him. So that's how she ends up there. But I think the thing that needed to be quoted from her at this point is she says, I want to be in a committed relationship where I'm valued as a human being and not as an accessory that you can fuck. And in response to that, he says, that's a very good answer because it's not really something that you can object to. His reply to what he wants is, I don't know what I want. I just know this arrangement works for me. What, he didn't even put thought into his response. He didn't even put care and
honestly,
thought
that's
into
when
that.
Vann should have been like, you know what? It's time for me to go home.
Yeah.
Like,
that should have been the end.
It's time for me to go. Like, what do you say when this man doesn't even have self-respect for himself when in the beginning of the season you are still living in
Storage container.
like storage space? What makes you think he has respect for this relationship, sis?
Right. And I mean, and then too, with Vann is part of this is Vann too, because, it's what you allow as well.
Absolutely.
So, it makes me question too, because, this is probably the first time I've seen that girl smile and be easy and, you know what I'm saying? And like be in her quote unquote element the entire time I've seen her from last season and this season. And, I can see that she might have that same type of, like self-loathing, maybe questioning herself type things. She does have some questionable quote unquote friends.
I was
like
gonna say that
Jade girl, like that Jade girl. I think that was her name from last, season.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one here, that gives me that whole, girl, you don't stand up for yourself. Why are you with these folks that be talking slick at the mouth and be doing stuff to you? So she gives me like she has some of those same type of qualities as Earn. Maybe not as bad as Earn, but she allows a lot of stuff that Earn does. So she's has a little part in that too.
I would say that Vann, for example, like Vann in particular, I'm a bit disconnected from her, and I think what Deidre said in terms of the friend part, it always throws me for a loop that her friends are just really terrible and that she still hangs out with them. I genuinely cannot relate to that because I am very antisocial. So like for me, if I'm picking you or choosing you to be my friend, I need you to give me positive energy. And we're not going to agree all the time, but they're just like both her, Jade and this chick in this episode are awful friends. Like they're just not good friends. You got one who swears that she's better than you and really is condescending to you. And the other one does not believe that she's black. And that is alarming to me.
Who also is condescending.
So I'm confused. So both of those, I was just like, girl, you need friends, like better friends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she got to start loving herself first. But before we get into that, hold on. I just need to play some Temptations real quick because I ain't too proud to beg. I ain't like Earn. Interestingly enough, y'all jumped like way back into her conversation with old girl. But fuck it. For those who don't know, the Schnappvizier is she got schnapped is what they call it. And that's when they steal your phone, whatever this damn thing is at this festival that they done made up these rules for. And y'all supposed to go on a march in an area that has no bathroom where women have to pee outside near dumpsters.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
That was interesting. But the conversation that she has before that with this friend who, again, I don't know this woman's name either. And people kept saying they thought that was her sister. But I'm like, I get why you might think that. But the fact that she refers to Vann as Lottie's mother, when have you ever heard an aunt refer to her sister by the child's name? That just
out of this, that's there's no respect.
Oh, you know, that's my niece Corey's mother. But wait a minute, did you say your niece Corey's mother? Yes. Well, don't that mean you Corey's mother's sister? Yes. So what's her name? That don't matter. That's how I refer to her. Okay. That's some real hood nigga shit for somebody who ain't got no kinky hair. Can we talk about this girl that claims she don't got kinky hair, dog? You always had the kinky hair. She touches the half German black woman's hair. It says, you always had the kinky hair. And Vann is like, but nigga, you a nigga too. What are you talking about?
That really was what boiled down to her. When she started talking about like, you chose black and I chose white, I was like, ooh, this conversation is not going to go well at all.
She tried to call her a baby mama without actually referring to her in the terms baby or mama. She was just like, well, you know, you chose black. Well, first she's like, you chose Earn. So I figured like you were prepared for this. You were prepared to be a single mother living in the hood with no job because you didn't pass a drug test that you snitched on yourself about. And I married white. So now I know half German.
Mm-hmm. Which, listen, I think Sassy Beats did some incredible acting because she was doing that eye squint when she was talking to the shorty, like, I want to grab you by your non-kinky hair and smack your head across the table, but I got to be constrained. Like, that's the eyeball she was giving her while she was talking because she kept digging herself into a hole that she could not get out of.
I was like, this chick. I can't remember her name.
I don't think they ever. I can't remember if they ever said her name. Like I said,
say the name. Yeah.
Just watched the episode, and I don't remember if she said the girl's name or not. But just the whole interaction. Like, here is a girl who doesn't have any confidence in her own race. She doesn't have confidence in her own culture. She's been lost since childhood. So was, oh, you never wanted to hang out with whatever the white girl's name that she kept saying was. You never want to hang out with the Beccas and us. You never wanted to hang out with me and the Heathers. And Zazie was like, that's because they was mean. Oh, well, you never invited me to your parties. That's because every time you came around us, you was condescending, trying to touch our hair and it really did feel like a white person trying to touch our hair, even though you black as hell. That whole interaction was just like, I like the fact that Joy, you mentioned, and Deidre, she brought it, like, what's going on with Zazie? Like, what is going on with Vann? Because her friends are terrible. Her interactions with people tend to be terrible. They're not far off from Earn's interactions with people.
No, they're not.
She looks very uncomfortable.
She looks miserable too all the time. She's self-loathing too all the time. She's also really intelligent. The way she tried to pass that drug test with boiling the damn pamper and getting the piss out with some real science 101, 500 graduate level, not 101 for real though, shit. All right. She turned into Dexter's Laboratory in that house real high fast. So she's not dumb, but her social skills are trash. And they had to, damn, she wasn't even excited at the strip club, which I thought was funny. She gave a stripper money because she looked like she was struggle dancing. And she shouldn't have to compete, which is her life, right? Her life seems to be competing with her friends. Two friends she's had to go to that she has seemed to be at one point in competition with.
Yeah, I think now that you're mentioning it, I think that's why they're both attracted to each other. I think Vann and Earn are actually two sides of the same coin. Like, they are the same person in terms of how they feel kind of hopeless in their spaces and how they outwardly reflect their interactions with people because of that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why they gravitated towards each other, like in this odd, like not even a relationship, this convenient situationship or whatever the fuck. Like they gravitated towards each other because they are really the same person. Like, just like Earn is homeless, like Vann is jobless and she's pretty much just staying at home with her daughter, which is nothing wrong with that. But you can tell that's something that she's not comfortable with. So she's trying to do this Helen, like, Germany thing to kind of get some sort of a spark in her life just like Earn was trying to stun on people the episode before, going to the strip club, taking her out to the movies and stuff like that. Just trying to have like little glimpses of happiness in their really bleak lives. And that shit backfires because they still, at the end of the day, don't know how to talk to people, including themselves.
Right. Okay, so let me know if y'all felt the same way that I felt about this, because I understand that sometimes we have a nigga perspective and it may not be as accurate. I thought Vann was being just as much of a dick this episode as Earn was.
Oh no, she was acting cocky as shit. Like
She was
very cocky. I don't know if it was the fact of, like I said, that this German stuff is her element, and because she was speaking it so fluently, and I mean, she was acting like somewhat cocky and stuff, but I just don't know where. I don't know if it was just because she was comfortable.
Her cockiness reminded me of like how Earn felt like when he was going into the movie theater and was like, oh, we could pay for VIPs, so not a problem. Like, it's that they interact really the same now that Brandon has mentioned it. Like, they really do act the same when they're comfortable in their own element, where they get super comfortable, a little bit cocky, and then something happens midway in where the universe won't let them have it, and they shut that shit down early.
Like, I think she tried to berate him into wanting to more be like the person she wanted to be with.
Oh, you mean enjoying what they were doing?
No, like not enjoying it, but she's like, I just wanted to spend time with you. Like, I don't like going to the strip club. And all of these are valid arguments to make, that you don't want to just spend time with him doing shit he likes to do. That's a real relationship conversation. It happens all the time where you be like, okay, we got to split it then. Like, if you feel like we've been doing shit I've been doing, what's your ideas that you want to do? Let's go do what you want to do, depending on the situation or whatever. Her argument was valid. Her presentation, on the other hand, was really fucking rough and a bit more than just candid. It almost felt like she was trying to drag him. To give you an example, there is the scene, and we're meant to feel this scene as the audience as well when this happens. The scene at the bar where she's clearly flirting with the bartender, right? Like this, we're supposed to believe, oh, she's just having a conversation. No, she's actively flirting in front of Earn with this bartender in German. And there are no subtitles in that scene, because later on with her and the German dude are talking, and they want us to hear the words that he's saying to her about self-worth and whatnot. That was a point to that, right? Because that's supposed to be Vann's story at that point. But in the scene at the bar, we're supposed to be seeing this situation from Earn's perspective, which is that before they even walked up to the bar, he asked her a question about a German word, and he was like, that means what? And she said, it means this. You really should work on your German, and then you really should learn German. And he was like, what do I need to learn German for? Which, in his situation, he lives in fucking Atlanta. Who the fuck is he gonna go speak to German to besides Vann? The only reason he would need to learn it would be to talk to her. So that was a jab right there. It was like, what do you mean? What do you need to learn it for? You should learn it so you could talk to me. It's something we could share, right? Together. You do it for me. Her whole thing in this episode is, you're not doing things for me. You're not doing stuff for me. And when he responds as kind of just very casually or just brushes shit off, that's when she starts to kind of berate or drag him. The ping pong game was kind of a drag situation, a berate situation. The bar conversation was dead on a drag and berate situation, because she's clearly talking about him to the bartender, but he has no idea what they're talking about, and he can't order a beer. And she just keying it up with this bartender who, if from a male perspective, or I would feel like any person's perspective, if you feel like people talking about you in a situation that you don't even want to be in, you're gonna feel like shit. But then to have another motherfucker that seems to be hitting on your significant other, talking shit about you with your significant other, and you don't even know this motherfucker, that is a drag, flat out. And I also feel like at the same time, his ding ding ding, can we get some service, was also a terrible response in that situation. So this goes back to what Joy was saying earlier about, I feel like their communication was terrible. You're right. Their communication really was bad. It just went deeper than communication at that point.
Yeah. And it's one of those situations where I thought, like, it's so interesting to see people interact, feeling upset about them not respecting a relationship that doesn't exist. And I think that's what makes it so awkward, because I agree with you. I don't think they should be together. And I think the reactions to them being together but not really being together, you have these awkward moments of, yo, I'm standing right here, you talking to this dude in German, but then also like shortly after you talk about how like this is just of a convenience to me. So then why go with her to the trip, or why invite him to come over? Like, why are we doing this thing? It also called back a lot to season 1, Juneteenth, where she wanted him to come with her so that he can, you know, impress these people to potentially get, you know, job opportunities and connections. So she's just like, can you just go for me? Can you just please come for me?
Well, you know what it is? It's the whole thing that he said after the ping pong game, which he was like, just come dance with me. And they had their little back and forth, and that creepy dude was standing. He was, by the way, he was not there the whole match. That motherfucker popped up after she won the match. I went back and watched it. He was not there the whole time. But when Earn is like, why you gotta, you know, diss me or drag me, embarrass me in front of this dude when I take you to the basketball court and we play, I don't turn into fucking LeBron on you and start dunking on you and shit to embarrass you in front of the people on the court. And Vann, like, honestly was like, well, who the fuck was just watching us? Because she was playing in the first game. She wasn't trying to shit on him. She was having fun stunting, but she wasn't trying to shit on him particularly. She was just having fun with the person she was with. When she realized that creepy motherfucker had been standing over there the whole time, her first thought was, oh, I didn't realize I was embarrassing you in front of anybody. But then her thought was overtaken by the fact that this creepy dude was standing near me the whole time and I didn't even fucking realize it. So now I'm weirded out and we should leave. And she tries to grab him to leave. Let's go over here. And he's like, I don't feel like it right now. And later in that conversation, he hits her with, I'll do it if we fucking have to. That's some shit you don't say out loud, my nigga. You absolutely don't say that if I fucking have to. Part out loud. You do shit in relationships that you don't want to do and that you have to do all the time. That's part of sharing your time with somebody else. You don't have to say, though, if I fucking have to, because that adds this air of you forcing me to do some shit. I'm obligated to do some shit for you. Like, you have control over me. I don't have any control over the situation. I just be doing shit because I have to, because who else is going to suck it up and do this shit if I don't do it right? It's not like you doing this for me, which is not true, because Vann does do that shit for him. The whole stunt episode she put up with him losing money to Michael Vick that they probably needed to pay rent, despite the fact that she gave money to a stripper while being drunk at the strip club because she felt an ounce of pity that night. You know.
Well, that's what the strip club is.
Yeah, you don't go to the strip club to save money. A la Darius.
No, you don't. You sure don't.
But yeah, there are a lot of moments in here where it's just like people saying the wrong shit, but really, it's also one of those moments in a relationship where everybody really needs to say what is on their mind and how they actually feel. Because y'all been tiptoeing, walking on eggshells around this shit this whole time. Y'all ain't been together that long since we done seen it. It ain't been like a year or nothing since this situation. He just got the puppy money. So there's some type of timeline here.
And sometimes too, people know that if they do say something that, you know, it pretty much is going to end, and that in itself scares them. So the same, like you said, the tiptoeing around things, you know, it was one, I can see it being one of those things where I know if I finally truly say something, which is what finally happened, but you know, previously if I said something, then it'll pretty much be over, and I'm not ready for that. Like, I'm not comfortable for this to be over. So you just kind of deal with it.
Yeah. And now that it's out in the open, they're not together. At least like right now. That could easily change by the end of the season.
Lord, I don't think so. The way this season is going, I don't see anybody making any big smart choices. This looks like it's going to be dire episode after dire episode. Have we had an episode yet where somebody came out on top outside of Paperboy shit getting played on the radio and going gold because a white woman cried on it over YouTube?
No, I mean, the only person who's having a great season is Darius.
Because he's Darius. Because drama eludes him. So that would be why.
But he's supposed to have his own. He's having his own episode. And I saw something about breaking down.
Oh.
Or breaks down or something like that. That's all it said. You know how they just give like the 1 or 2 liners?
Yeah.
So
you know, Darius is interesting. Darius is interesting because I don't know if you guys have seen the solo advertising that they've done on like social media for the season, where there's like it's on Instagram of them like holding something and people are taking stuff out of their hands.
Yes.
So they did that for every character. Darius he gets stuff added into his hand, which I thought was very interesting. Seriously, like he's like with nothing, he does like prayer hands and his hands moving in like slow motion because he's high. But like they give him sunglasses, they give him a jacket, they give him a necklace, they give him a blunt. So I was just like, yo, that's very interesting that like in everybody else's promos, they're getting stuff taken out of their hands. Like Paperboy gets his chain taken away, Vann gets her phone taken away. So does Earn. But like Darius, all this stuff kept getting added to his hand. So I don't know if that was just like him being so high and he was imagining the reverse of stealing happening, or like this might be a good like segue into, or like a little, you know, peek under the hood of like what his season is going to be.
Well, I think it's like 2 perspectives you can probably take on that. Well, yours being the third that you just said, him being so high that he's seeing Robin's season in reverse. But I think 2 more perspectives that you might could take on that is maybe him having too much responsibility is burdensome. Like that's cumbersome to him. So that's when he can't just kind of free range it and do what Darius does. Maybe that's his Robin season, having too much responsibility, or
not having control.
Right. Or they could have been saying that everybody else has these attachment issues except Darius. Darius is the only person who everybody else is worried about losing some shit. And Darius is kind of like, life is as it is. What did he say? He didn't believe in time as a concept. Maybe he doesn't believe in ownership as a concept either. Maybe he doesn't believe in attachment to material possessions and whatnot. Like if you lose some shit, it's a loss. What's the worry now?
Remember he said in that, it was the episode at the club, and you know, he was like he was just talking about like how did he get like all this stuff, like the wristbands, and he's like, I'm just that guy. And I can just see him. Oh no, like he got all these drinks, and like Paperboy was like, how did you get this drink? You know, like all this stuff, and he, you know, basically he didn't pay for it. He was just like, I'm that guy, and I just think that's just him. Like people just gravitate towards him just because he is that free.
I mean, I can see his mentality being, you never really own anything. Anyway.
I mean, to be honest though, like Darius is the most elusive character, right? Like he doesn't work for Alfred. I don't know how he pays the rent for their apartment. If he does, like he doesn't have a job for what we know.
He does hustle.
And we don't know what he does, how he met Alfred, what's his backstory. He really is the most kind of like elusive person on that cast that has equal billing for the rest of them. So I'm excited about seeing his solo episode because I want to know more about Darius.
Darius is one of those I know people niggas.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a lot of niggas that'll tell you in this.
That's how Earn got his money, remember?
And that's how Alfred got a new hookup. They were bad hookups, but that's how he ended up finding some. Like Earn is one of those. There's a lot of people that'll tell you I know people and they full of shit. Darius is actually one of those niggas that when he says that, you be like, he kind of do just know people. He fits in. Yeah,
he's like Tracy without being a scammer.
Tracy knows people for all the wrong reasons. I feel like Darius fits in every environment he goes to. He just kind of fits in, unless they're like super duper racist.
Right.
And his skin just stays the fuck out.
He's like that. You know how you always hear like positive brings positive stuff? Yeah. So, you know, that's what he gives me with everything. Like he's not, you know, he's not threatening, you know, he's not angry. Like he just gives you cool vibes, you know, positive vibes, chill, you know, and people do gravitate to people like that, you know, because they feel comfortable around that. So, you know, you're more likely to help somebody like that more so than somebody that's like always negative, you know, that type of thing. So, yeah, his episode is going to be interesting because, yeah, you really don't know any story, like how they, like him and Alfred, how they met, like anything like that?
Nope. So let's see. There's a pig at the beginning of the episode eating food in the middle of the road, and that is definitely supposed to be our this feels like Get Out intro moment to the show, and that pig isn't the only thing eating something in the opening of this episode.
Oh yeah.
So I think that was supposed to just kind of show that they got good sexual connection, but outside of that, they don't got a connection with nothing else besides the baby.
That is the problem, and that is one of the reasons why people stay.
Matter of fact, that I get it now. I think I do. That's why they focus on the car seat being empty. These motherfuckers don't never work together when they don't have a reason to work together. Like, she was like, in the beginning of the episode, we're good together when we need to be. Well, the baby ain't there, so they don't need to be good together. And that's why they focus on that empty car seat.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
That's bananas.
Yep. I gotta say, watching this, I didn't watch the episode live because I had a long work week and I was tired. But I watched it the morning of, and just going back to people's tweets on the Atlanta FX hashtag, I was like, yo, this really hit home for a lot of people, this episode of their relationship. And it was really interesting seeing people kind of like tweet out their experiences and feelings from watching this. And I was like, yikes. I mean, yikes, because like, my God, a lot of y'all, God bless you and your choices. But
she'll deal with it soon.
Mostly it was just like, yo, that y'all really did a good job on the writing. I forgot the person you named in terms of the writer of this, but shout out to them for writing such. Yes, so shout out to them for like writing such a relatable episode to a lot of people.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk about this ball game that they played before we get out of here. This motherfucker didn't do nothing but catch 2 balls and put them in some jugs. And have y'all ever been in a situation where you didn't do shit, but everybody telling you did some great shit, and you have no idea how to respond to that? Because I have definitely been in that situation.
Are we not gonna talk about the blackface part too?
Blackface parts. Oh, you mean the white girl walking up to him and saying it looks so real?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not get that till the second time I watched it. The first time I watched it,
I was like,
I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
What is she talking about? And then when I saw that she used her thumb to try to wipe his skin off, I was like, oh, fuck.
So yeah, it was a callback to, like, they mentioned Vann is going to casually mention that they have somebody that dresses up in blackface, like that is okay. But she just casually mentions it as they're walking in. And if you notice, they got these white people in the windows while they're walking up, looking at Earn, like mad hard, like, yo, this looks like some damn good, like, oh, they really like stepped it up this year. The blackface is looking crimson.
You know what kills me?
And then when Shorty comes up to him, yo, Donald Glover's face, when she came up to him to wipe his cheek, he was so over it, because people have been stunned on him racially for the last couple of episodes.
Yo,
he's tired. He's tired.
I swear, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I did not get that shit until this episode. That like blew my mind when I realized what was going on. I had to rewind it and watch it again, because it was bananas. But what does that tell you about these white people if they don't do that to the black women that show up, but they do it to the black men that might show up?
There weren't any other black men that I saw like in the background or in the forefront but Earn.
So why are black women so welcome, but black men are a rarity at these events?
Yeah. And let's be honest, like it must be a certain type of black woman, because there weren't really other black women besides Vann and her I'm mixed, but I swear I'm white friend.
Right.
Who, like, they look like a certain black, like lighter skin, a certain type of hair. It's a type.
Right, a type. Right, they're not going to be looking like, anybody darker, like Gabrielle Union or anybody like that shade.
Yeah, I couldn't go. They would have wiped my face too if I walked up in there with Earn.
Right.
I wouldn't even know how to ask Zazie this question if we ever did meet her and get to interview her. But I believe that her partner is a white guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because on her Instagram page, I believe her partner is a white dude. And I wonder what it's like for her to read people, because I know she wrote a message on her Instagram this week after this episode because people had so many questions for her. And I'm wondering if any of them had anything to do with the fact that you can clearly see that she might have a white significant other, and that she's part German, and that you're doing this show where twice she has had to deal with racial stereotypes about Black women, whether being mixed or not, and having also to deal with white people, white people's assumptions of Black people, the way Earn gets treated as a Black person with her, and how that, like, if that brings like any confusion, or if she's ever worried about people maybe claiming that she doesn't understand the full experience, or that in real life she liked a friend that she was talking to, which I think are all bullshit arguments. But people come up with dumb shit like that to say on social media all the time, right? And they'll try to take you to task. At the end of the day,
we don't know her personally. I will say the way they've used Vann this season has been interesting. Like in how she interacts with Earn, how she kind of like, not necessarily like, I don't know if she does it purposely, but she kind of downplays some of the racist shit that has happened to him in the episode before.
She did.
Even how they jokingly call her Annie Hall and says she's a white woman in the episode before.
Right.
Like the way that they've been using, and I don't know if it all rolls up to what this episode turned into, but the way that they've been using Vann, and this is really like the first time that they've acknowledged that in real life she is mixed. And they, you know, I appreciate that they didn't shy from that, and that they literally used her experience of her being a dual citizen in Germany and in the U.S., her actually speaking German, being born in Germany, her father's German, her mom is Black. Like, all those experiences are her experiences. So, but I wonder if, like, how she interacts with other women, especially, like, lighter women, whether they be Jade, who I think Jade was just, like, a light-skinned Black woman, and how she was speaking about her was, you know, kind of sideways, versus her other friend who is mixed like her, who was just like, well, you chose your Black side, and you're just like, what? Like, it's very interesting on how they've been using Vann this season is all I'm saying.
I feel like that is very representative of situations right now dealing with the whole like marching movement and people getting into social politics and really doing organizing and activism now throughout social media. Because I always feel like that's got to be difficult to be in a situation where you're a Black activist and your significant other might be a white woman or a white man. And how does that reflect when people come for you, or when you walk in a room, or when you're standing at a podium, or when you post pictures of you and that person just in general, like, because in your life, just celebrating you being you? How does that reflect? And then internally, is there any inner turmoil that comes from that? Is there any type of guilt that comes from that? You know, just from the fact of, oh, we're talking about how Black men don't respect Black women, how Black women need to do this, how Black men need to do this, et cetera, et cetera. But I went outside of my race to find my happiness, if they even feel that way. And I feel like people have this very taboo a way that they react to interracial dating and all of that stuff in general, which I think is just stupid.
I agree. But also, like, even how we have these conversations about Zazie versus not having those conversations about Donald Glover, who his baby mama ain't Black.
Right.
And,
Sure ain't.
Yep.
And it's his show and it's hindering him. And we're not having as many conversations on, like, whether or not his storytelling of Black experiences, are they, like, actually 100% true, considering his significant other isn't Black. But we're not saying us, but, like, others are having that same conversation about Zazie, someone who's not writing the material. She's not the showrunner like Donald Glover is.
Well,
she's just an actress doing her job.
Okay, so that's not true, actually. Donald Glover caught hella flack last year when all these niggas started watching Atlanta, and then they found out his baby mama was Asian. And I remember that me and Deidre talked about that on the podcast and how fucking stupid that shit was.
Yeah. And I easily could have, I probably missed that because, like, my bubble isn't that. But I don't just, like, I know that there are people who don't really like Donald Glover, not because of the Asian baby mama thing, but because of a lot of his music when he was, like, early Childish Gambino pre-camp.
Oh, yeah, they think he was
like,
corny.
What?
They thought he was corny back then. Like, they were...
No. Not only that. Like, in terms of, like, some of his content was very, like, Asian fetishizing. And they were like, I'm not fucking with this. Yeah, like, I'm not fucking with this nigga. Like, I don't care. Like, I remember that time. And
I
was
have
like,
heard this. Yes, you're right.
yeah. And like, I've listened to his music before. They're not wrong. They really are not. And I've definitely seen people make comments of like, it's really interesting, you know, how Donald has reinvented himself from his community days to now. And I don't know Donald Glover. I don't know him personally. That could have been him that whole time, but how he was before also could have been him at the same time too. I think people show different degrees of themselves depending on what level of their career they're in.
I think smart people do that for sure, because Donald Glover back in the Derek comedy days, Donald Glover doing stand-up and specials before doing camp shows at his shows, doing half camp album, half stand-up comedy. Donald Glover even talking to Sway in the morning before he spit that ridiculously dope-ass freestyle. Has anybody actually gone back and watched his demeanor? Like his whole persona, the way he carries himself, he looks goofy as fuck.
He wore the same t-shirt, the same brown jacket, had that weird hat on. Like, he was a very
awkward.
And this is somebody who likes Don. Like, I have all of his albums on vinyl. Like, I'm a fan of Childish Gambino. But Camp is literally a whole album of multiple tracks of, I'm not black enough for the black people. I'm not white enough for the white people. Why don't you love me? Mm-hmm. That's the whole album. That's Camp in a gist, right?
And
you know what I mean?
In reality, that's how niggas treated him on Twitter. I remember, we talk about it all the time. 09 Twitter, rappers too could not stand Donald Glover. Like they did not want to give him any type of credit for being able to rap. It didn't matter if he killed a freestyle. That's when he had to come back and do that mixtape with Ghostface and all of them on it to kind of get some cosigns from them before jumping
royalty.
into because the internet.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, he had to do that because these niggas would not give him that respect. And if you listen on Camp, I believe he talks about, maybe it's on Camp, that he talks about the fact that his question, specifically his mother had questioned him, his parents, specifically his mother, had questioned him about the fact that he did not want to write for Tina Fey and SNL anymore, and that he was making good money doing that shit. And she, they were kind of like, are you sure? Like, you really want to do this music thing instead of writing for SNL behind the scenes? Like, that's pretty fucking huge. And it was like an identity thing. So now you get all of these stories coming out about what he had to deal with Chevy Chase and the racism or community that came from dealing with him. Like, I can't imagine the type of stuff that they thought was cool to say around him when they thought he wasn't too black. Because even Tina Fey released a statement saying that she didn't know he felt that way when he was writing for 30 Rock. Like when he released a statement about Chevy Chase and some of the things he experienced on these different SNL sets and whatnot. She didn't release a statement saying, I didn't know he felt that way. I never thought I treated him that way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this could have been his personality the whole time. He could have just been playing a role. I find him to be a very complex person to try to really pin down from the other side of the television screen. So I just stopped trying because I've never met him in person.
And like, for me, it's like, as somebody who I have been a fan of his since Derek Comedy, and I stuck with it. And to see where he is now, I can admit, as somebody who's been following it closely, it is a night and day scenario in terms of the type of audience he's targeting and the type of content he is making. Mm-hmm. That could be a combination of things. That could be him finally feeling that freedom of him doing his own shit because he owns his own shit with Atlanta. It could be him growing up as a human being and being like, yo, it is what it is. But even on Atlanta, I've always felt like you could tell that a lot of these situations and these stories might not be coming directly from Gambino, but becoming directly from Steven. And I think that's why Steven is like the head writer at Atlanta. Because you could tell a lot of that, a lot of the terminology, a lot of the conversations, some of the strongest episodes, if you ask me, especially when they center like Paperboy, that's all Steven. That, like, he had a different experience with their brothers growing up than Donald did. He wasn't running in the same circles as Donald. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, you could tell his experiences very nuanced, where what happens when you go to, Tisch School of the Arts or and go there for fucking film and screenwriting, and you are one of those people in the room. I think that's why though Earn annoys the fuck out of me. I think that experience of him being in Princeton and dropping out, like I can relate to that because I've been in those spaces where it's like, I'm not here because I'm more talented than other Black people. I know that's bullshit. I'm here because white people want a certain amount from me and I don't know how to rectify that in my personality. So I sympathize in some regard. Like, he's not above reproach or critique, but it's complicated.
It is. And like, for people to expect people to just fit into their box of however you perceive a person in that position should be, yeah, that's, to me, that's just crazy. So I'm more like, let people reflect and say their own shit. I was a killer fucking Mike fan until he kept opening his mouth, and it did not take one or two times. He just kept doing it. If Donald Glover got into a situation where he just did not know when to shut the fuck up, then I would have to treat him the same way. Like,
yeah, you gotta take that
how
out.
it is.
Like, realistically, like, we can. I hate the separate the art from the artist conversation.
I hate that.
Everybody has a line. Everybody has a line depending on the artist, depending on the person. Like, me personally, I'm not seeing it for Chris Brown. Chris Brown had a great run leading up to him being an absolute fuckface.
He's trash. Like, he's a trash human being.
He's a trash human being.
General.
My line is R. Kelly. I can't. Don't put me in. I don't want to be a part of this, right? Like, but everybody has a different line when it comes to their favorite art. Do I think Childish Gambino is talented? Yeah. I've been fucking with Childish Gambino since I Am Not a Rapper Volume 1 and 2, and they had struggle bars. So I've been here. Mm-hmm. I've been committed, and I've, like, stuck through his progression, not necessarily as, like, becoming a better writer, but I think he's gotten a lot more comfortable in what he wants to make or doesn't want to make. And I think his music has gotten better because of it. But it took us a while. Like, it took us a minute to get here. And I think that that's the same journey he's having as a content creator and as a writer. Like, the 30 Rock stuff he was writing for Tracy, but, like, even then, it always made me feel a little weird. Like, the community stuff he was doing, like, I love Troy and Abed, but, like, some of the stuff that they had him do, it is like him playing a dumb jock didn't fit his personality at all. Or
it
at least
felt
the one
kind
he
of
portrayed on TV.
It felt kind of buckwheaty sometimes.
Yeah,
you know, and
exactly.
And that's what white people like to do. Plus, he has such strong Black features that I also think that white people like to cast him and stuff because, like, look, doesn't he look like a goofy little nigga? Like, that, I feel like that's not something that they don't do. I feel like that's a real casting thing. Another perspective that I want to just add into this as well, while we're talking about holding him responsible, right? We got to hold ourselves as the Black audience responsible too. Because the way that people react to Donald Glover now is, it's like they never reacted to him a different way before. Like, the way he showed up at the Black Panther joint, they like, look at him killing this suit. If he'd have wore some shit like that in 2010, they'd have been like, look at this goofy orangey motherfucker.
Yeah, realistically, a lot of people, and something I've realized, there's a combination of, I 1,000% agree with you, Brand, but I think there's two trains of mind for that. I think there are people who are like on a music standpoint, a pre and post Awaken My Love, where there are people on social media who would relentlessly clown Donald Glover. When Camp came out, they were like, what is this Oreo shit? When, Because the Internet came out, it was like, meh. Because, Because the Internet had 3005, that was a big radio hit. And it was like, And then when Awaken My Love came out, there's a lot of people who were just like, oh, this is really great. And it's like, where were you before? That's one train of mine. The second train of mine is there's a lot of people who didn't know who the fuck Donald Glover was before this.
True.
Who never watched an episode of Community, didn't know nothing about 30 Rock, and didn't watch it like that because that was a white person. That's a white people show.
You mean Black people?
Like, it's crazy that there are a large group of people that know shit about Donald Glover. I signed up for Atlanta early on because I was like, critiques about Donald Glover that I have aside. I was like, I know that nigga can write. I know that he could do that. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I was going to watch it to see what he came up with, especially because, like, he talks a lot about Stone Mountain and it's a center of a lot of his music. Like, he had a Stone Mountain mixtape. Like, I know that this is something that's important to him. And the fact that he has his brother on it, who I've heard him on rap songs before with him. And I was like, that's going to be an interesting perspective because his brother is a little bit more, a little bit more of that gang shit, slightly a bit more. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm curious to see what y'all do with this. And it turned out to be fucking phenomenal. And I love it so much. But I signed on because I actually knew this nigga before Atlanta and watched Community and knew what 30 Rock was. There's a lot of people who just don't know anything about Donald Glover. And they're just like, oh, wait, this is the nigga? That him?
Right. It's always just awkward for me to see people reacting to him so, like, praiseworthy now. because that just, oh my God, the days of fighting to get niggas to stop being niggas and give him a fucking chance felt like they would never fucking
thing that always
end.
blows me is that like we've had this situation with Drake, but I feel like people warmed up to Drake a lot more.
No, absolutely.
Earlier.
They absolutely warmed up to him. Like Drake was fine in 06. Drake already had fans before he came into So Far Gone.
Yeah. So I was always weird. I was always confused about that. Like, I don't like to do the comparisons. As a musician, though, I like Gambino more than I like Drake.
He's a better fucking musician. Like, as far as having a writer, like a rap off, Drake could hold his own if they both raps together. That would be interesting. But as far as making albums conceptually as a musician and throwing away tracks you don't need and keeping the ones that will succeed, Donald Glover is a better fucking artist. It's not arguable.
Yeah.
Drake has tried his hand at singing multiple times. Y'all niggas will never be woke to his love. All right. So there's no fucking argument.
Yeah, he can't. Like Gambino actually did a whole like singing album. Awaken My Love, he is singing. That nigga raps 0 times.
Now, given
that whole album,
Drake,
and it sounds great.
Drake can do songs and sing on them, and they become super duper fucking memeable hits. Like, and Gambino can't do that. A lot of people in the game cannot do that. So that is Drake's claim to fame. You can never take that away from him. He will always be able to make a one-hit wonder. What the fuck y'all see in this song that makes it so damn catchy, but y'all singing that shit anyway all year long. So he got that.
Yeah.
And he embraces it, which is smart because he makes a lot of money from it. But as far as a whole album, Gambino got him. So
yeah, I agree with you.
All right. So I don't know. Deidre's still here?
Yeah, I'm just listening. I was gonna wait till y'all finish.
You got anything you wanted to add? Oh, I don't know if you was.
Well, one, I will say I probably was one of those ones who did not listen to Gambino Camp or anything like that. I think when you did listen to Camp, I didn't like it. Like, I didn't like it at all. He gradually grew on me before, the Atlanta stuff and Awaken My Love and all that stuff too. But I'll just say that, everybody's not going to get, like, some people are not going to always be those ones that I'm going to be, a fan from start to finish. Because we all have artists that we've stuck by them when nobody didn't give 2 shits, and now that they're huge or what have you not, it's kind of like, well, why you didn't get it then? And some people just will not get it. But I would rather somebody who might not get it and then maybe later on they understand, because maybe they've grown from a couple years ago, just like an artist has grown. People grow, and their taste and everything else grows as well. So even if I see somebody that probably might not even listen to Camp or any of the other albums, but they connected with, Awaken My Love, and it made them want to go back and maybe listen to other stuff, I definitely do like people like that, because at least they're giving it a chance. Mm-hmm. And maybe, like I said, their taste might be different than what it would have been previously. Because, I've had stuff that, years ago I didn't like it, but, going back to it now, I'm different, older, taste a little bit different. It's like, okay, I appreciate it now than I would have previously. And then I'll also say, too, as far as for, like, the show Atlanta in general, I definitely appreciate actually both Stephen and Donald, because it's living here in Atlanta. I've been here almost 7 years now, and I'm pretty acclimated to, like, from the music scene to, where he lives, in Stone Mountain, outside the perimeter, whereas, weaving in and out, like, the Mrs. Winter scene is off of Glenwood, which is not that far from Stone Mountain. That happened in the beginning of season 2. And then just, all the other little elements that, I don't know, maybe people, it might be funny, but people who either born and raised in Atlanta or live in Atlanta, like, they get it, like the Zesto stuff and, just being in Little 5 Points and, like, all those other little pockets. Like, I appreciate that, because, it's not just like you see them downtown on Peachtree, or you see them in fucking Lenox or anything like that, or just like the typical, they'll be at, Bankhead, even though Bankhead there's no longer any Bankhead. I like that they are in the pockets, like in the scenes of things that if you are an artist, music artists, like, you know, trying to make it, those are the places you probably would be, you know, or if you just live in Atlanta, you know, doing some dumb stuff, those are probably the pockets, you know, or places that you would be in. So that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
I would just finally like add, if we're to assume, and it's not true all the time, that like artists in their music is a reflection of their growth as human beings, then I think Donald Glover is actually a very interesting case study of Childish Gambino, because as Deidre mentioned, like, you know, Awaken My Love, people might have not listened to his shit before. There's been growth. Like every project he's done has been growth, even including the mixtapes where like Camp was, in hindsight 2020, like I liked Camp when it came out. So I'm like, yes, I'm here. First album for Childish Gambino, Glass Note, let's do this. And listening to it again, I'm like, it's a bit of a struggle. Like as I've gotten older, like, and then looking at, you know, because of the internet, much better project, if you ask me. Even Royalty had a bit of a, to Brandon's point, like this try hard validation that he was trying to get that stamp of approval from like street niggas that, hey, I'm not joking. This is not a joke album. Like I'm being dead serious. And then when you look at like Stonebound and Kawhi, it's like him being a little bit more comfortable and being a little bit more in his bag. And then you have a like Waking My Love, which is just like this surprising gem of an album of this dude just doing what the fuck he wants. You could tell he's more creatively free in that regard. And this is post Atlanta, so he's kind of riding on that success. And it's just like, yo, I'm just gonna give you something that I love to do, and he just did it, and it's great. So I'm happy as a Gambino fan to see that trajectory and that growth, and I hope for the next album, or if it is his last as Childish Gambino, like we see more of that growth.
Bam. There y'all go. Y'all got hit with a whole lot at the end. All right, man. Joy, I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you. It was wonderful having you come on to talk about. I'm not gonna lie. If y'all want to make this a tag, go ahead. This is the only podcast that I listen to when I need to listen to a review on Atlanta. It's the best one if you ask me, hands down. You guys go into extreme detail, and I'm not even bullshitting. Like I listen to every episode. Like getting prepared for season 2 of Atlanta, I noticed that y'all put on your feed the season 1 reviews, and I listened to all of them at least three times per episode. So that was you downloading them
so
episodes
much.
Again. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I love them.
I appreciate it.
Why is there like a bump in that's me? And the listens. No, I genuinely love these reviews because they're so detailed and they really, you guys put research into it. You guys connect it to other episodes. You watch it how I watch it, and I think that's why I was so excited to like be like, I want to come on the episode because these detailed reviews are the best in the business. And honestly, you should have your own sponsored one from Atlanta. I'm putting it out there into the universe. Atlanta FX absolutely should sponsor this podcast.
Boom.
We're giving it Darius vibes.
Yes, giving it Darius positive energy where nothing can touch him. Lord bless this podcast with a sponsorship from FX.
Please.
But seriously, like, it's a phenomenal podcast. Like you guys absolutely should listen to it. Not because I'm on it, before I'm on it, after I'm on it. Like phenomenal podcast. I love the reviews.
This is high praise for somebody I'm trying to be like when I grow up, because you'd already doing
get out of here.
things.
Please get out. Brenda always swears that I'm like he's like, oh, how are you superstar? You, Jeff.
But that's what
Chris.
I hear in the streets also.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But where are these streets? There must be 2 streets.
Man, you
so
follow
I don't know
her.
what y'all talking about.
Hey, Deidre, do you follow her on Instagram?
uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. Then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Y'all gotta leave me be. I'm just really out here trying to be like Darius. I'm just trying to let life take me.
Right.
I don't believe time is a structure, like a concept. Like
don't be dumbed down in your stuff like Earn does. Like praise your stuff. Like
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like no, you know, I've been very fortunate this year in terms of the stuff that I've gotten to do, but like I'm honestly out here just trying to function. Like I'm just going wherever the wind blows at this point. But thank y'all. That's really nice of you.
What wind is that? Because I'm trying to catch the current. Okay.
Give me the name of that. Yeah, what's the name of the contact?
Trying to ride that current.
Exactly. What's the name of the contact of that wind? Let me know. Hook me up.
Call me a bubble. I'm just trying to ride that current. But give me your information so they can follow you on Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you writing at right now, because you're writing everywhere. Was you in the Twitter offices working? Did I see that in a post?
Yeah. Well, no.
wow.
Yeah, so,
Wow.
not because of writing. My day job, Twitter is one of our media partners. So like I was grabbing lunch with another Black girl and we're her client. And she was like, you want to work in the office for the rest of the day? I was like, yeah, I've been to the Twitter office before. but like it's my day job, so I'll just work in the office, not an issue. Which is fun. Like the offices are mad cool.
I like the way you put that. You basically said Twitter is one of our partners, and all I heard was Twitter, my nigga. You know, that's one of my niggas. So
Yeah,
he was kicking it.
Stunt, honey.
Oh, I'm so done with y'all. Okay, so y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram, I guess, at Jump for Joy, JUMPEDFORJOI as an igloo. I'm a freelance writer, and my nighttime job, my day job time, I'm brand marketing. My nighttime job, I write. Brandon mentioned I've been writing a lot. I just came back from South by, which was really fun. I've gotten to write for the year. Highway Reporter. I've written for Slash Film, Cash's Life. I have something coming up in the next couple of weeks for another site that I don't want to reveal because like I'm very like superstitious about not saying anything till it's out, so I know it's out. But yeah, I gotten really fortunate to write for these sites. For whatever reason, keep asking me to write for them. So I'm like, thank you. Honestly, I'm very surprised that people read my shit. I'm not even joking. So like, I'm just like, cool, thanks. But you can find it there talking about bullshit and writing, I guess.
Word. Yeah, and she be writing, y'all. So other than that, y'all know who he is. Hopefully y'all listen to every episode, and hope y'all will be back next week for Paperboy's Afro haircut, which
this is going to be hilarious.
Wait, and one more thing. I wanted to add this about Paperboy real quick. Brian Tyree Henry, I just saw him on his Broadway play because I live in New York, and he's on a Broadway play with Chris Evans and Michael Cera. That nigga can act. That nigga got layers like an onion. He's just talented. I can't say enough about Brian Tyree Henry. He's just a talented nigga. My God.
I seen that double entendre. She says he got layers like an onion. He can act and he'll make you cry. I seen them layers. I seen them layers.
My double Aunt Andres.
Double Aunt Andre. All right, we really need to put that shirt out. Okay, y'all, we'll holler at y'all next time. Where's My 40 Acres Podcast, Atlanta Review. This has been the Boob Tube, Season 2, Episode 4 of Atlanta. Helen, y'all enjoy. If you only watched it one time, you're not doing your job right. Go back, watch that shit again, listen to our podcast, then go back, watch it again. It'll be Thursday by then. We out. Peace.